Thank you. I wouldn't remember it again. So if you notice on my drawing, I did a takeoff on my original drawing, which included, spelled out the slab. And then I called out 3 bars each way at 24 on center. I totally changed that steel design to 3 bars each way at 18 on center. Number 3 bars each way at 18 on center. I left the footings. I called out the columns and the headers and the roof rafters and the blocking and the roofing material. And the galvanized steel corrugated panels. Yeah, that's roofing material. And this is what that looks like with all the stuff I added to it. So this is in the form of 2 quotes. So I took that original takeoff and then added a bunch of stuff to it for stuff that I had left out. Just more stuff that we needed, more stuff that had to do with the pour. So initially, the stuff that I got on that takeoff that I just showed you that I did was pretty accurate for the shade structure itself. And then I had to add stuff in for the pour. And so it's in the form of 2 quotes. And the reason being is that this is the Wake Center quote. So this is the stuff that we would build, cut the parts to build the shade structure itself, the structure that's gonna rise out of the slab, built all out of wood with a metal roof. This is the material. Those are the 6x6 posts, 4 of them, 4 and 8 feet, 32 linear feet. And you see how the unit prices are. Remember, have I been talking to you guys about mill board foot pricing? So it's in an MBF. It's all MBF. That's 1,000 board feet. So $3,350 is what 1,000 board feet of Doug Fir number 1 select free of heart center costs. How much is that a board foot? Anybody? Anybody out there in Zoom land? How much that first line? How much does that translate to per board foot? 3,350 feet for 1,000 board feet. How much is 1 board foot? $3.35. You just move the decimal place 3 places to the left. That's all you got to do. And all of your numbers, all lumber is sold by the MBF. Sheet goods are sold by the MSF, which is the mill square foot. Board lumber is sold by the board foot. Next line is our 6x10s. I want 2 18s. I think I only want 16. I'm able to go ahead and go longer, but to get 16, it's tough to get 16 out of 16. Because you might have some checking on the ends. There's a good possibility you'll have some checking, and I would like it to be at least 16. So I got an 18 foot. So it might be closer to 18, closer to 17 maybe by the time we get some nice clean ends on it. So and that is also DF is Doug Fir number 1, select exposed, number 1 grain, free of heart center. That's as good a board as I can get in that size for lumber, right? For building lumber. I could probably order this special order to be clear, KD, have it special milled, probably do that. And that 3350 would probably treble, probably be something like 11,000, betcha. So FOHC means free of heart center. It doesn't mean no knots. Select exposed means it's selected for solid tight knots. So it can have knots. They have to be STK or solid tight knots. There can't be any loose knots. You can't have any heart. Can't have any wane on the board either. See that minimal wane on the 2x4s? And then we got our 2x4s. So there's 140 linear feet of 2x4s. That's for our rafters. 20s I can cut in half for the 10-foot rafters, and then the blocking in between. That's what that's for. There's our column caps, which are $95 a piece. I don't get it exactly, but they're $95 a piece. I gotta have it explained to me. And then okay, so that is what we would get delivered here. And we would cut the post to length. We cut the 6x10s to length and maybe do a detail in the end or not. We would cut all the rafters to length, cut bird's mouths on all the rafters. And basically we could assemble a lot of this here. So it could just be taken over there. Yes.
How long do we have to put a treatment or paint this?
You mean after the raw wood's installed?
Yeah, after we put it up.
Oh. What was that?
I said prime it and you'll have a little while.
Yeah, you can, if it's primed right away, then you can take your time, which then you'll still have to prep your prime. You may have to re-prime too. You should prime it and paint just right away. The longer you let it sit, the less good of a job or the harder you have to work to get a decent cover. And you should paint it.
The bottom of the posts that are going to be on the braces, do we need to do that before we go it up?
Yep. We do. We'll hit the end grain on the bottom for sure. And prime it. So I'm going to assume you're going to paint it because it's what it deserves. If you don't paint it, if you put nothing on it, so your choice is to put nothing on it and it will turn to shit in 10 years. I mean, literally. It'll go away.
Well, the option is about paint it or stain it.
If you stain it, you'll have to constantly stain it.
Right, we do it every couple of years.
If you do a good prime and 2 coats finish, or even a really good prime and one really expensive coat finish, but you should do 2 coats finish, you'll get 5 years out of it. You could get 10 years out of it. You'll get a lot more time. That's for sure. Because the whole thing about is wood, if you don't protect it, it is broken down by the elements, especially the ultraviolet light from the sun. The salt air also works on it. The moist air works on it. Plus we have termites in this part of the country. So paint, man, paint that baby.
So with something like this, would it be better to paint it before throwing it up? Or
No. Hell no. No.
The reason I'm asking is for the areas that you're not gonna be able to reach when it's,
Oh, pshaw. But really, it's not a bad idea to pre-prime the rafters before they fit in the bird's mouth. It's not a bad idea at all. It's really a good idea. We'll try to do that. That'll be the best thing going. So that is the stuff in drop 1. And I think and I'll go back over it in the morning when I'm just as clear as a bell and make sure I like it. And then this is the second quote, quote 2, and this will be delivered to the main campus. These are all the things that would go together to make the form for the concrete floor. And that's 4 of the bases. What the hell?
Do we want the 4 Simpson ties that were on the last?
No,
To
we
be
don't.
delivered to
No,
campus.
gotta get those off of there. So there's too many pieces of hardware here.
Those column caps?
We got,
Do we want those?
oh no, that's a delivery. No, it's just, no, the column cap. Column caps come here,
Right.
sure. They don't go there. They
Those aren't
come
those,
there.
those
They
are
could,
for the tops of
yeah,
those?
yeah.
Got it.
Don't ever question me. No, I'm kidding. You can question me anytime you want, because I make mistakes all over the place.
What would you prime it with?
Z prime, or any good quality fast drying primer from Frezzi or San Luis Paints or anybody, But Z prime is it's good quality primer. It's fast drying. It's good for fur.
You don't like using like alcohol or oil-based like primers?
Only if you're going to put oil base on top of it. Yeah. And if it could be done in oil, it'd be the best. But I don't think it can be. You can't buy oil-based paint anymore, but by the quart, right?
Quarts.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
yield pretty well. I mean, like
Yeah, you might get a post out of cord, man.
Yeah.
Two
I mean,
coats.
Yeah, and usually for that, I mean, some people like, if the wood's been left over, like, let's say, like a couple weeks or something, or it's been a little while, then they do like three coats of
Yeah,
primer.
yeah.
And then it's a lot easier.
Yeah,
'Cause
well, good.
one-
Put your, he needs your expertise on that end of it. Okay.
uh,
So we have the column caps on there, which is where they're supposed to be. Column caps are on there where they're supposed to be. And then here we've got the column bases, which go in the slab for these babies. And I'll show you pictures of them. There's our roofing. 8 sheets, 10-foot galvanized roofing. That's 8 sheets, takes up about 15 feet. Make sure we got enough. There's the wiggle mold that goes on top of the rafters, the blocking. So it provides nailing for the corrugations. It fits inside the corrugations of the roof. So you have good solid nailing because you nail through the top of the corrugation. Screw in this stake. There's we got a bundle of stakes. I think I'm probably gonna not do that many stakes. I think I'm gonna borrow steel stakes. I'm gonna borrow 50 steel stakes, and then we got what we brought over there will be enough to do the corners and stuff. So I'm probably gonna strike that. Those stakes, that's ridiculous. 42.50. We'll have stakes forever. These are the duplex nails. There's a 16D and there's an 8D. Those are the double-headed nails. You'll see. I'm getting those if for nothing else at $4.50 just to show you how they work. I will screw together using this deck drive screw, 3.5-inch deck drive. I'll screw that form together. And I may have some screws that we can throw in stuff, but it'll really grab that form. And we won't have anything projecting out to catch on string lines or anything like that. So that form can stay together and it'll break down pretty easy just by unscrewing it. So that's what the screws are about. And there's our steel. We're going to get 9 20-foot sticks, so 180 feet. So that's only $55 for 180 feet of rebar. So rebar is pretty cheap. $6.16 a stick. Stakes look super expensive to me. There's our tie wire, which is pretty damn cheap. And we'll all get a chance to tie wire. So if you have, and the people at home, hopefully some of you guys and gals, or hopefully Claire can make it. Some of you guys at home can come, but if you have it, bring a lineman's pliers. I'm going to grab one and show you. I'm going to grab one and show you. You can't see me. I'm going to grab one and show you. Slip joint pliers is okay. But really, alignment pliers. Lot better. Okay, I can't find our alignment pliers. I'm not surprised. But if you have a good pliers, especially a lineman's pliers, bring them, and gloves. Lineman pliers and gloves. There's dobies. Who knows what dobies are? Little 2-inch by 2-inch squares with a wire in them, so we can wire them up to our rebar. So our rebar mat will sit on dobies. It'll become a part of that pour. And then there's our studs right there. We're going to get 3 16-footers. No, 2 16-footers. How's that? 2 or 4 16s. It says 3. It says 32 feet. So that's somebody's mistake. But and that's what we use for our form. 2x4. And that's the quote. Does anybody have any questions at all? Yeah.
So what would the labor cost look like for something like this? Like,
This would be bid by the square foot probably. So slabs used to go for $10 a square. I think you can get anywhere from 12 to 15 a square from now, because it's a small slab and a yard knock. You might even get $20 a square. So I bet you could get $20 a square for that. So at $20 a square, that's what is it, 90 square feet, 6 times 15, 90. So you call it 100 square feet. So at 100 square feet, it'd be $1,500 at 15 a square. At 20 a square, it'd be $2,000 for that slab, which is probably what. And this concrete costs $350 for concrete. And and then you saw what those materials cost. So that so
Around like $5,000. So.
no, you could probably get somebody to do that for a couple of grand or less. Because they don't have to do this. They've got steel in their yard. They've got 2x4s forever. They've got piles of column bases. You know what I mean? They're not paying $95 a column base. You know what I mean? So guys that can do concrete, that's what they do. And they have everything. They don't have to buy duplex nails. You know what I mean? They have all. They don't have to buy stakes. They don't have to buy any of this stuff. They just have to buy concrete. They don't even have to buy form material. They have everything right there. Yeah.
And so if you were to buy material for this, would you, what would you like price that at like double what it is or like something more because you're.
You mean if I was selling it to somebody?
Like if you, like, let's say you don't have the material to do this.
Right.
For some reason.
Yeah.
And you have to go out and buy it, would you like.
Mark it up.
Yeah, mark it up, or do you like give them like what do you?
As a general contractor, I marked up everything I ever bought. I never did anybody anything for free, ever. Never, not once in my entire life. Now, since I sold my business and retired, and the work I've been doing, I haven't been marking stuff up. I've been doing, and I just stay away from it. I don't want to handle it. So if it doesn't run through me, then I figure then fine. I'll just put you guys together and I'll charge you by the hour. I just wanted to get away from any liabilities and things like that. But I figured as long as I was involved, and if it was my money paying you or my money buying the material and then selling it to you, I was going to mark it up. And 20% is what I mark. Yeah, so 20% is my minimum markup. And if it's a small thing, I like to keystone it. So, you can make money at 20% markup, but you can't on, let's say it's a trash pullout and it cost me $60 and then mark it up 12. It's like $12 not even worth me buying it. So small stuff like that, you want to be able to keystone that. So hopefully you can buy it cheap enough so to double it. It's worth your client's while as well, but it's not that easy to do now because everybody's get the deal of the century on the internet. You can't find a deal on the internet, then you shouldn't be using the internet. You should be like not even looking at a computer. I mean, along with the scams and everything else, the deals are out there. So much information, so much everything out there. Okay, so I want to show you guys on the board. I'm going to show everybody on the board this thing, and then we're going to look at some videos, and then we might review a little bit about the book, or I might just go home. If this were a democracy, I would take a vote. Okay, could you turn the lights on? Okay, everybody got that? Saturday, and I'll confirm with an email blast by Friday. Now, this is already Tuesday. This is gonna happen. kids, and it'll be fun.
We have normal labs on Wednesday, right? Or normal.
No, your normal lab is right now.
The Jim's Wednesday thing. Still happens.
Jim's lecture tomorrow is set. That's not changed. So. I'll show you guys a picture of it. It'll come through. But this thing. Wait, thing. That thing. It's kind of stirrup looking thing, right? That's a CB. That's the jazziest. That's a $95. No, the one. This is only $44. The column cap is the $94 one. That's a CB. It's a column base, and it's set up for SDS. It's 7 inches tall. This stirrup comes up 7 inches. That's a 3/4 plate that sits on your concrete, and so your wood sits up on that plate.
How do you adjust it so all four are level with the concrete?
I'm going to show you right now. Yeah.
And so, like, if you're remodeling, like, let's say, and the, never mind.
So you're thinking of existing slab, you want to put posts on existing slab? Is that what you're thinking?
Like the anchors for the posts,
These column
yeah, the
bases?
column bases. Would you have to replace those, or would you like keep existing ones?
Well, it depends on the condition they were in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have column bases embedded in concrete in my carport, and I backed into a 6x6 supporting beam a year or two ago and snapped it. It's under a fair amount of tension. And had to replace it, and I went right back in the same fit. I actually bought a new one for on top, a new column cap for on top, and then took it back because I reused that one and I reused the column base. So if they're not rusted, or if you just knock a little bit of rust off them and re-prime them, they're in good shape and it's good thick steel, there's no reason to replace them. You don't want to get them bent much because the metal fatigues. But really, their tension's down and they keep them from hopping. So, and I'll show you how we're gonna, because that was my big question. Right? It's tying these guys into the floor. And I got the answer, and it's just as simple could be. So let's see if I can do this. We'll just start out with the form. Let's say it's like that. Now here's our footing. 12 inches deep, 18 inches that way. There's our mat of steel, cross piece of steel on it. Steel running through here. We've got bars running this way. Bars running this way. 18 inches. Six inches in. Essentially, 6 inches in. This is the 18 by 18 by 20. So 6 inches in. Actually, 9 inches to center. Actually, 9 inches to center. Is where that starts. Post, but there's the strip, and then down here, the that D dimension, 66, is 6 3/4. So this is 4 inches, so it comes down. Everybody with me? So running this way, running right to the center of the standoff, a 3/4 inch standoff, just a piece of waste stock, piece of forming stake, a 2x4, runs right through here, sitting right there, right on top of that, runs right through, the other one's in here, same thing. All right, 2x4 runs through. It sits on top with a 3/4 standoff. So, and this actually 2x4. Something like that. It's that high. Shit, that's the standoff. There's a 3/4 standoff and then the 2x4. 2x4 gets up into this guy. So these guys can be screwed to the 2x4. 2x4 is held, it's cantilevered this way, and it's nailed or screwed into the form. And it's held up by a standoff that's dead flush with that metal part at the bottom of that, at the bottom of this guy on the right there. And then it runs right to the center. So if you look, if we could turn this around and look this way, you'd see the stirrups, like this, the metal piece. The slab is going to go like that, 2x4 and run right through here. Screwed to the 2x4. So that holds that in place. So it's held in place. So it's anchored in place by 2x4s running in 2 directions. And then you just pour to it. The concrete will seep. It's it'll seep its own level. And you just screed it. So you screed it everywhere here. Here you got to get in with a little trowel. And at one point, you're going to knock that guy off. Oh, and it's also going to get tied in by steel. So there'll be on the stirrup down here in the slab. And we've got a mat down here. There's cross ties. There'll be U-shaped rebar that'll anchor that stirrup and tie it to the mat. So it'll get tied into the rebar. There's some rebar we're going to bend, some U's that'll tie it. We'll tie it to the mat at the bottom to support our buildings. And then there'll be pieces that'll tie the mat to the top mat. That'll be that's the kind of tricky part, is just tying it all together so that the steel becomes sort of one piece that gives it all its tensile strength. This concrete is very high in compressive strength. It's very weak in tensile strength. So it's compressive, super strong, very strong. But tensile, if you spread it out and then try to, it cracks. So you want to support it with reinforcing steel. That's what gives it tensile strength. So that's how we do this right. And we're small enough slabs that we won't be vibrating it, but if we get the concrete well placed and well worked without any voids or honeycombs in it, and that's the kind of steel that we're talking about, then we should have slab there forever. Should be there forever. And And we'll ask for a 5-sack mix. So that's 5 sacks of concrete per yard. That's 5 sacks of cement per yard. Gives us about 2,500 pounds per square inch. Concrete. And that's just regular concrete. Some concrete pours call for a higher PSI, like 3,000, 2,500 mix, 4,000 mix. You can buy 5,000 mix PSI, super hard concrete.
Is that more cement?
It's more cement, yeah, it goes out faster, it hardens up a lot harder, ultimately. Consequently, more burn. So concrete is sand, water, and aggregate, and cement. Sand, water, aggregate, cement. That's what concrete is. Cement is part of concrete. So it's one of my pet peeves of people call concrete cement. Most people do. So well, look at the cement. You mean the concrete that has cement in it? Yeah, that's yeah. It's just like my water heater that people call a hot water heater. Well, it's not a hot water heater because you're not heating hot water. It's a water heater. You're just heating water. So it's a water heater. It's not a hot water heater. It's a water heater. So the next time you hear anybody call a water heater a hot water heater, what do you call them? Who knows? That could be a bonus question. And speaking of bonus questions, so do you understand that? If I can paint this picture for you, now you guys can see me too at home. Picture again, the rectangle, 2x4 rectangle, the right size, screwed together, stiff, right? So we've built it. And then squared it, measured it this way, and it was X, and this way, and it was the same exact dimension. And we did that by just tweaking it, like moving it until we got it. So it measures square. Believe me, if we cut these the same size and these the same size, we'll be able to get a dead square. Or these two dimensions will be exactly the same. Then I'll take a form stake and lay it across it. Screw it there, screw it there. Screw it there, and that will keep it square. So then we'll be able to pick the thing up, drop it wherever we want it. In a position, try mistakes. Because I form things where you drive 3-foot stakes and then hold 2x12s up and then beat nails into them. Seriously. And it's basically suspend it and use your body as the backup. This will be fun. This will be close to fun. And then brain just went blank. What was I talking about? Can anybody have a point? What was I kidding about? Nobody remembers? You guys have bad memories too? Horrible. Come on, somebody help me. Do you have CRS? You too young to have CRS. Matthias?
My brother, I did 30.
Nobody else remembers.
Yes, yeah, you can. And maybe we'll go before that. So, okay. So, any questions about this lab on Saturday? Everybody know how to get there? You guys are going to be able to make it? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I see.
You said no baseball hat, or not no baseball hats that they don't help as much as brim hats, or as like bucket hats or something?
Yeah, did I need to qualify that for you? Just that the baseball cap is just giving you the shade right here, where a brimmed hat gives you protection for your ears and the back of your neck.
What kind of shoes should we wear?
Sturdy, those are fine.
Oh, okay, but I have shoes sturdier than this too.
Yeah, sturdy hiking shoes, pair of boots, if you got them. Get something. that you could possibly get concrete on, which you wouldn't want to do, and we don't want you to. But you can concrete on, and we get it washed off right away, because we'll have a hose there, right?
Yeah, we're not pouring
But
Saturday.
we're not, Saturday, there's no concrete on site Saturday, so you can just do tenants and be fine. I mean, we're gonna set up some horses, and we're gonna cut some 2x4s and screw it together and pound some stakes in. I'm hoping that'll happen fairly, easily and quickly, and we'll get the just where we want it. And then I don't think it's gonna be a big deal to stake that thing either, and then we'll start tying the steel. The steel will take us some time. We'll have to cut and bend, and we can have people doing that too, while other people are doing other things. We certainly have enough hands to do that. But that'll be a fair amount of work. I think we can probably get 8 or 10 of us in there just tying steel. You have to tie every connection. It's too tight. Every single connection. That's what I want a lineman spotters for. And we can just use gloves, and we'll cut a bunch of pieces. We have one roll of tie wire, should be enough. Wait, enough. Cut a bunch of pieces, and you just take and slide it under, and you just use your grab it with your lineman pliers and twist, and cut it down. We'll do a couple. We'll see that. I showed that video, I think. We can, we'll do a couple of demos around you guys. That'll be the fun part. And, it'll be the first time we've done anything for a long time. Seems like, seems like a long time. I was trying to think of the last thing we did.
This class was like normal, like not COVID, would we be doing more things like this or? would we
Yeah, we'd have projects. We'd be working on a tiny house. We'd be
Yeah.
doing, you guys would be plumbing the tiny house or doing electrical for the tiny house or something like that. It's really tough to do unless we have the whole class doing that. To try to drag along the Zoom component to do work isn't there. It's not, we haven't figured that out. So we're doing it this way, right, Jim? Well, right, Mr. Cunningham. And Jim says, oh, I know I was gonna tell you. That's what I spaced out. Nobody reminded me because no one could get into my head to know what I was thinking. And that is, I talked to Jim today about when you're gonna have this midterm exam. And he basically said, what midterm exam?
Oh,
Yeah, he said like, no, we don't need to do that. No, I'm kidding. He's got a Lulu.
400.
Yeah, he's got I think it's 900 questions.
That's nice.
I'm going on 1,000.
So do you are you gonna do a midterm?
Midterm will be, we're gonna try to finish up chapter 11 tomorrow. And then we're gonna do chapter 12. And if we finish chapter 12, which is a lot of information, chapter
Yeah.
12 is more complicated because it has more complicated math for doing stuff. Because you're using the Pythagorean theorem and you're figuring roof angles and pitches and slopes. Now,
Mouth cuts.
and we'll talk about that when we get there, because a lot of people mix up pitch and slope. They use it interchangeably. That's how we talk about it, but they're actually two different things. But most people, when they talk about slope or pitch, they mean the same thing. They mean slope.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so we're gonna try to finish 12 next week, and then we'll have the midterm the following week. And if we can't fit in a second quiz, then we won't fit in a second quiz. We'll just do the midterm and the first quiz. But maybe we'll fit one. See how it goes. There's a lot in these 3 chapters. This is really the basis of the information of what this class is all about. We're talking, we're basically in this beginning construction, but it's basically beginning framing, right? And we throw in a little concrete and we throw in building decks and some other stuff, but basically this is like a framing class. So we really want to cover this material so that you get it and you know some of the math and you go out there. Well, I bought a new toy today.
What'd you get?
I got a DeWalt battery operated framing nailer. Very cool.
Yeah, watch out though. wear gloves. Those bang my hands.
Did it?
Yeah, all of them do though, but I got arthritis pretty bad, so I'm not gonna be doing that much. But they gotta be great, right?
Battery tools are kind of the wave of the future, I think.
Yeah, you think?
I bought a Metabo 10-inch miter saw, compound miter saw. We did, and it is so sweet. It cuts really super accurately. It's the old Hitachi, right? They changed the name to Metabo.
Why
And
would they
like
do
you
that?
said-
Hitachi has so much cred, man.
I know.
That's just,
I don't know why
Dumb.
they changed it. But anyhow, this miter saw, we did my whole deck with epay, which is a really super hardwood, and one battery charge.
no.
Didn't even have to recharge the battery. Such a sweet saw. And the
Chop
thing,
saw? Chop-
miter saw, yeah, one battery, didn't even go up. And the other cool thing about it is with this Metabo, it has an adapter. So if you do have power, you plug in the adapter instead of the battery, and
No
you just plug it in. It's awesome.
Wow. That's
It's just
impressive.
awesome.
I had no idea.
So anyhow, not next week, but the following week is tentative schedule for the midterm. Yeah, go ahead.
How will the midterm be conducted? Is it gonna be like a physical test or is it gonna?
We're gonna focus on framing and concrete,
But will
chapter.
it be a written test? Is that-
It'll be a written test like the other one.
Okay, like on Tuesday.
No, it'll be on Tuesday. Rodney will give it, yeah.
Okay.
And so you'll be here. And so I really want to focus on chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12. Like this weekend, you're going to be doing the stuff that you learned in 9. That's really great. If I can make it, I will. I've got some people that are trying to come over and get together this weekend, but we'll see. I'll try to make it over. What time are you getting started?
9 o'clock.
Okay.
9 to 9 to 12 or 9 to 1, but I'll tell them we can go at 12.
So I'll see what happens. My welder's supposed to come up and do railings on my deck.
It's pretty important.
I ordered deck material 5 months ago from Brazil, ePay. So it's been sitting in a container. So when they ship it, they just ship logs in the container. And then they bring it in and they take it to Santa Fe Springs, and in Santa Fe Springs, they mill it into the boards that you order. And the container ship was sitting off Long Beach for probably 2 or 3 months, because the way they do it down there is the containers that contain perishable items, they bring in first. So finally it got unloaded, I heard. So I'm hoping maybe it's been 5 months.
That sucks.
My wife every week. Where's our wood? Where's our wood?
Yeah, converse of that, I had a blind break. It was a warranty issue. Warranty issue? Called up and said, yeah, we have March of 2022. Okay, I got it 6 days later.
You kidding?
No, and I thought maybe that would happen because it happened about a month and a half ago. I had another one break, 2 of them.
Yeah,
And I got them in like 7 days.
nice, nice.
But they projected out like 5 months. I had 6 days.
So it's really spotty right now. Some stuff comes in pretty quick. I just ordered TimberTech decking and it came in less than 2 weeks.
I know. You don't know what's.
Milgard windows, which are kind of like a mainstay common brand, they're typically that we would get them in 10 working days, 2 weeks. Right now they're 10 weeks. And a lot of times they're coming in defective or the wrong size, or so it's just-
Untrained factory workers
yeah.
hired back because the people that are trained are getting better, are doing better, not working. It's a problem.
Okay,
Okay, man. So
we'll
we'll
see you guys. Ingram.
See you later. You'll see them tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
So James, the midterm will be week 11.
That's what we're saying. Yeah,
I don't know what week that
yeah.
is.
This is
We're in
9.
week 9.
This is 9. It won't be 10.
11.
Alright, got it.
That's what
I know you're looking forward to it.
That's what I was gonna tell you.
Is that for, yeah, that's the drawing for the concrete.
Yep.
Okay,
And the steel and the stirrups and the column bases tomorrow.
see you later.
For 2/3 term.
We're coming up on 2/3 term.
Well, if he's giving us a midterm in week 11.
Oh, I know, yeah, yeah, yeah.
2/3.
Oh, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I think you're gonna cry. Okay, so. So, HFR framing are these guys that, oh, what's going on here? Where is it? This ain't good. Says it's there, but. That's NG. Right. Let's see if 2 made it. Yeah, 2 made it. Okay. You gotta have 1. So, gotta go 1. There it is.
How many people are planning on coming on Saturday?
Everybody here? So far, I haven't heard from you guys at Zoom yet.
I might not be able to, depending on work.
Well, if you guys that will, and the ones that won't. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that many as can will be able to. And if not, we'll make a good recording for you, okay? Very good recording. Okay, so we're gonna need this baby here.
Rodney, can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. That doesn't seem to want him in bed. Oh, what the hell? Oh, that goes.
Right now, okay, we're recording. It's the Friday before your lab tomorrow, and I'm here at 765 Hot Springs. I should have said that, but I did. And I'm here on Hilario Fernandez's job of HFR Construction. Roberto, who did a little bit know these guys are incredible framers because they framed the job for me just now in Hilario. How long have you been framing?
Well, I remember, I think it was about 22 years ago.
22 years framing, and then how did you learn framing?
Well, myself, I learned in sweeping. I started just coming to the job site and the guy is, okay, just start sweeping. But, you got to prove it, you got to prove yourself. And I asked the guy to give me more work.
Yeah, so that's what I tell guys, grab a broom, start by sweeping, and what'll get noticed is your attitude.
Right.
If you got the attitude what do I do next?
Right.
And use a broom, then you'll be picking up stuff and cleaning job sites, and pretty soon somebody will hand you a hammer and then a skill saw.
Correct. I mean, you get boring. After you finish sweeping, you just need to be busy.
Yeah.
And, time just goes by.
Yeah.
You get busy, you freelance, then stuff, and then once you kid realize that it's 3:30 or 4 o'clock, it's time to leave already. So
Yeah.
you can enjoy it.
Time flies when you're having fun. And we were just talking before I started videoing about customer service and attitude, stuff like that. Could you just comment on that a little bit?
Well, on my personal opinion, I think attitude shows the people that you want to be there for them, and you want to be careful on what you're doing. And I think to be honest with you, the people can see that in you, and then you get answers from them. Once you ask a question, they right away they give you the answer, and you just keep going and going and going. Just gotta be careful.
I totally agree. So what have we got here? What's behind me? This is a project. Now you guys got here, is this slab on grade?
Yes, it is.
So you guys have framed it from after from the anchor bolts on the slab, right?
Correct.
When did you start framing it?
We start framing this actually the 25th. No, I wrote 22nd of December.
22nd of December. Wow, really? You guys.
And then we take days off and then we come back. So basically, full time we probably have like 3 days, 3-4 months.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, really. And is this an ADU?
It's an ADU for.
What's the square feet?
I think I'm not pretty sure about the number of set of plans, but I think it will be around 600.
Yeah, I thought 800 was the limit. I think 800 is the limit, and it's 1,200 for guest houses. But let's walk down and take a look at your framing. What do you say? I've been trying to figure out how to do this mud and not bring it into my car, and I finally figured it out. Bring your boots and bring a plastic bag to put your shoes and your boots in. Yeah, I'm back in the truck. I got to start driving my truck again. Okay, so we got about a 600 square foot
See those-
ADU.
Those
chimney,
column bases?
nice big 2x12 fascia, which I like that. The job you guys did for me, she wanted no fascia. So we had to take off the 5.5-inch fascia and rip it down to virtually 3.5, and then the metal will cover that. So no fascia. Yeah, she wants to see, and then the gutter will cover that. Yeah, well, it's a metal roof that'll wrap over and flash over it, and then the gutter will hang on to that. So you won't need to see the fascia. And 6x6 select exposed post. Looks like you got one post.
Those
to
are
go
what your
there.
posts, the posts will look like.
Four posts there, and actually brackets. We got structural.
And that's a 6x8 on top of that.
Expose one of those ornamental.
Like a T
brackets.
bracket.
Yeah.
So you still have some hardware to put up here,
Yes.
up on top, some column caps or whatever you're gonna put.
Yeah, the architect, he wanna see a T bracket, one of those exposed black brackets.
Right,
into
right.
Exposed, and then to the second over there.
Okay,
And over here in the corner, we already have a structural connection.
so is it a pin down through?
It is, yeah, they look like a pipe, like an inch and a quarter pipe with
Really?
pins to the beam, and
post.
Okay, so down through the beam, down into the end of the post,
Yeah.
you've already got a connection, but it's clean looking cuts and joint there. Good job. And now it gets a T bracket, ornamental, which is actually structural as well. I mean, it's not non-structural. That's a nice lead in. Now, is there anything gonna happen on the end of that outrigger, or is that
Yeah.
king post gonna be proud?
Now, as you can see, the fascia is still missing here.
Oh, yeah.
So
uh-huh.
the fascia is coming out.
Oh, okay.
So it's gonna be flushed to the king post right there.
Okay, so the fascia will flush out the king post. I'm gonna zoom that. It's good, nice little detail. I think I'm seeing it. I swear I can't see it.
Clean, huh?
Darn thing. Okay, there it is. Do you see that, class? You know, zoom out. So this, we'll get a continuation of this 2x fascia. You can see the miter. That's gonna be an interesting, cut because you're not gonna be that long, right? It's gonna be an interesting cut.
Yeah, actually, because of because of the slope of the roof, the plumb cut of the fascia.
Yeah.
I think will be the same situation where you got.
Yeah, okay, you're right. It's gonna look exactly like that. That's what's gonna happen, okay. Sometimes it's hard to visualize, but that piece of fascia will come in, and that piece of fascia will come in, and they'll miter together right there above that king post, and they'll all flush out. This is a nice detail. This is where you guys get to show off your good framing skills. Now all this stuff, all this hardware, all these hangers, which are interesting hangers because you got one hanger up there with a stirrup, and these guys have none, or they let in. I can't see.
Oh, the ones on the.
Yeah, they're let in. Yeah, these hangers that hang your up your ridge beam here. Yeah, are those bottoms let in? You see this one's got a bottom?
Yeah, right here. Oh, let me look at that.
See that one?
That one there.
Yeah, that one's different than everyone else.
Yeah, it looked like the guy didn't cut that one, so they did exposed, but these ones are.
They're cut.
Okay.
And is that on plans like that?
Actually, no.
Because
Basically, if you take a look at the inside, we will see the same thing. The
Okay.
exposed hangers,
Yeah.
they got slope on the bottom.
yeah, which is a lot nicer look if you're gonna have exposed hangers than that. So what I was thinking by that is that's right there is an exposed hanger.
Well, actually, they're not.
Oh, it is let in. They're let in.
Oh, this gets TNT.
See that? They're damn let
So
in.
that's also a good reason to cut that off because it messes with the TNG. So they'll have to get up there with a fine tool or something.
You
to
didn't
cut
know
that
that.
off, right?
I didn't know what
Probably,
this
yes.
meant.
or
Hey,
you
nice
just,
shooting there. Wow, that's real professional stuff there. Come on. It's pretty awesome.
Very experimental, Rodney.
This is,
There we go. Sorry about
you
that.
guys just got hypnotized.
Way beyond. And not to be confused with the Zoom that we're having this class on. I know I'm kind of lingering here, but it's such nicely done framing. Now, all the stuff you see is DF number 1, select exposed FOHC, which means free of hard center. And that's about as high or as good a grade as you can get in construction grade lumber. And from there, you get into clears and STKs and stuff like that. But that's the grade that these guys called out, and they got some nice looking stock. It's going to show. So it should be nice looking.
They're cutting trees.
Right, so, okay. Anything to see around the outside? Should we go in? You tell me.
Well, you wanna take a look at that other porch?
Yeah, let's take a look at the porches.
So Rodney, when you said it was
Because
let
this
in,
framing
what
is
do you
meant to
mean by
show. And generally, my main complaint with framers
Yeah, materials
has been in the
removed
past
from
is
one
that,
board,
you know,
so the other board
for the
can
most
fit
part, their
into
stuff
it.
is covered up, so they don't
Right.
really care
Oh.
what it looks like, which can affect things. So, but I do care, and it kind of looks like Hilario and Roberto were Piano School of Framing.
Actually, yes, they got a good tip that finishes that, although.
Yeah. Yeah, because those guys know their stuff. Now that's an interesting detail right there. These little outriggers. What the heck am I seeing here? Is that just a block or are those cut out rafters? Are those cut rafters? Wow. So they started life as a 2x12,
Can't see
and
it.
then you guys cut
Oh,
them,
yeah, there you go.
right? Are they
Yeah.
cut or are those little blocks put in?
I think that there's some there, I think these ones are. Let me just make sure, yeah. We, on the original plans, we had that 2x12, but
Yeah, they're
we
cut.
realized with the finish they're gonna get, we have to be, this one's down.
They had to be
So
ripped.
we went back to the engineer and he wasn't okay with it.
Huh.
The detail, we rip them down, we can put the TNG and keep this in reveal from the special.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so those aren't added blocks, those are all 2x12s cut like that. And then, it's a cool detail. And it's not, the thing about these details, these framing details that we're looking at, what is this, about 6 and 12?
It's 4 and 3/8.
Huh. Yeah, I missed that one by a country mile. But is that, you know, generally these details, not many people look at. They're up. But now we get a chance to look at these details, and like that detail's gonna be there forever. And it looks good.
Yeah, all this, what you can see, the rafters, all that's gonna be covered with
Yeah,
TNG.
yeah.
So you're not gonna-
No, and then this will get a fascia across it, across the bottom.
This here, yeah.
Little-
Yeah, because we got a TNG at the bottom of here, we probably have a piece of finish.
It'll come right in there and drop down, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a miter on. So this is you're getting into finish work here. Getting into finish work in the framing, which I really love. And there's that's such a nice little piece of property. It's in perfectly the spot for an ADU. I mean, could you ask for better? You put a swimming pool down there.
You know, it's separate, but the owner, I think he plans to come over and live in this ADU. And I don't know what he's gonna do with it, has
Huh.
that, it's right next door. to the home.
Which makes all the sense in the world, you know? We have these big houses,
You say it's
you
in
raise kids,
Montecito?
families go away, then it's like a man and a woman live in these giant houses. I have the same thing with my wife. It's like,
You said it's in Montecito?
we run our house.
It's off Picacho.
We have a cottage in the back. So let's go see the inside of this place. Jump. Yeah, sorry for that jump camera. You probably felt it, didn't you? All right, so we're gonna go in.
Mark, I was pushing a little water out of here.
Yeah, you got a little bit in, so you're dried in, but not completely. So now is this the TNG, it's 2 by TNG?
It's a 2x6.
Okay, so it's not a 1 by TNG, so that's a TNG, that TNG is going up there. It's gonna skin those rafters and the ones we just left, that patio. And it's nice that it's 2 by 2, and you won't get any cupping or any of that BS either, right?
Right.
So you guys, did you frame something with generator?
Yes.
So you didn't, so your other option would be to pull power from the main house?
I think if they got a line here, but they start popping out, so when we need the generator, we just turn it on.
Yeah, that's good, because how far do you think it was? 300 feet, 200 feet,
It's about
400 feet?
250, 300
Yeah.
feet over here.
That's a lot of voltage drop.
Yeah, for
So-
a couple of skills,
Yeah, so really, you'd need like a number 8 or number 6 wire to a spider box, and then you'd be okay. But anything less than that, like a 10, even a 10,
correct,
at 250 feet, you have so much voltage drop, you can't do it. So nice big 9,000 watt generator. You can run more than a skill cell on that. That would run my RVs, both air conditioners and everything else, and I could have my microwave on. Dude, I want that. And are you afraid having this stuff here because of the, we've got all these damn thieves around?
That's in my
You know,
carport right
no,
now.
because
Because you're
it's
tucked back so far.
It's a private
Yeah,
driveway.
Yeah.
And the owner just parks his cars right in front of it,
yeah.
so they probably have cameras.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. This place feels secure. So these feel like awfully massive headers. Now, this is all per plan. And there's those outriggers or those actually not so much outriggers, but those beams that were carried on the post that we looked down the porch when we first came up. There's
triple
They
studs
come into the wall.
above the header
they
to a
sit-
double top
there's the
plate.
post they sit on, right? Sit on a 4x6
King
post
stud,
with
trimmer
a,
stud.
column cap. So all of these Simpson hangers, that column cap right there. Right there, that column cap, that's a Simpson hanger. All that stuff is on the plan. Do we have a plan here?
Yes, well, we probably, yes, we do.
And at some point, we want to look at the plan because they're all called out, every single one of them. I mean, look at this. This 2x6 framing is the way to go. God, I wish we framed everything in 2x6. No wonder Roberto wanted to frame it in 2x6. And this is interesting. Is that a strong wall?
It is a struggle, yes.
Yeah. So that is Simpson strong wall. Can you get a rake strong wall like that? I guess so.
It's a WSW that you can get them, you can get those, like, I think you can get those as much as 12.
Flamers. His brother's really.
Oh, larger, taller.
Wow. And then do you make the rake? You get them square and then you can cut the rake.
Yeah, we cut the rake on the side.
Okay, so class, we'll talk about strong walls. And I'll get, I don't think I can see this from the outside because it's wrapped already, but there's that's probably a 12-foot strong wall. It's cut to the rake. And I'm sure that was called out. These straps were called out. You can see the heavy duty hardware, which that has yet to be bolted. No, it's got
Another
bolted.
column
You
cap.
see the heavy duty hardware carrying that ridge. That's a column cap that carries that ridge beam, which is probably a 6x12. And then those are all your 2x12 hangers. Now,
Rectangle.
are they with this volume ceiling? How are they venting this volume ceiling? Are they venting the eaves?
I think they're gonna apply the rigid foam insulation.
So it's going
this dry
isonine,
one.
isonine, yeah, that makes sense. So if they didn't do isonine or a closed or open foam, if they didn't do a foam insulation like isonine, then they'd have to vent at least every other bay. They'd have to vent one bay to the other, and then at the end of the run, outside through those fascia blocks, they'd have to have some kind of venting to vent those. So to avoid that, to avoid what happens with superheated air or heated air inside a building and non-heated air or ambient air and temperature outside a building, which causes condensation, they use a cold cell foam and then they can do it and don't have to vent anything and save a whole lot of time and trouble. And here are the plans. So what sheet we're on is S2, which is floor framing, plans and notes. See that? Yep. And there they are. And point to where we're standing.
This is
Everybody
a
else.
Standing right here.
This is an ADU. That's
Yeah, this is the 4x4 you were looking at.
Yeah, yeah.
And the beam up to the outside.
Yeah.
to touch
There's the
post.
EPC top, which is the column cap, right?
Correct.
And there's
Post cap,
straps
post
on the
cap.
outside,
Yes.
PC's post cap.
22-inch straps. There's the ridge above.
So
Great
all-
round
all those
volume
call
ceilings.
outs
See
are
that 6x6?
Simpson hangers. Every
Right
one of
there,
them.
6x6 with a column cap is right.
Actually, now it's a
Now it's a
4x8.
4x8. Okay, change to a 4x8. So you can go bigger. You just can't go smaller.
Right.
So you can pretty much go bigger with no problem. So was that, whose decision was that? Was that you guys? Was that the engineer?
It was decided from the beginning, from the owner, then went to the architect and then went to the structural engineer just to have a 2x4 wall instead of a double wall.
I see. So they changed from a 6x6 to do a 2x4 wall. They had to go from a 6x6 because that was a 6x wall, 2x6 wall, which ran into a 6x6 post. And then since they wanted it to be a 2x4 wall, they had to change it to a 4x6. And by narrowing it to 4, okay, I got it, or 4x8 rather. That makes sense. And that they could use the 4x4 in there, and there it is over there. Do I see it? Or is that just 3 studs together? And right here, this 4x4 with an EPC column cap. Right over there.
On the corner again.
Oh, so
we went from one size opening to a big one. We just trying to big header and because of the room. They decided to leave it as it is. So we widened the opening
Right,
so the owner can have more open space.
right, okay. So just another example of changes as you go that come up and are necessary. Some of them need to be re-engineered and they need to bring other people in. Some of them you can just do and they don't really make any difference. Other than they make openings slightly wider, but they don't require any engineering. But these hangers are all shown. These are roof hangers. So next one's roof framing. It's 2x12 roof rafters. And then
16 center.
you don't specify, or do they specify the hangers?
Yeah, if you go to that detail.
Okay, 13S4. Till 13, okay, so there you go. There's your 2x roof rafter, and there's your U-type hanger. And then there's straps, of course, across the top on the roof, which you can't see the roof right now. But here are all the details, and these are real details. Some of these are boilerplate, but these are all germane to the job. Wow, is this insulation?
That's concrete.
So that's concrete again up against the stem wall?
Yes, they're trying to put the
So
stone.
it's going to be veneered.
Yeah.
Right, so that's veneer. Okay, that's exactly what that is. Nice set of plans. Drews. There's LU engineers, of course they're out of Pasadena. Looks like some site built trusses here, is that what that is?
No, it's just two-way ceiling joist to the all the ceiling from the bedroom.
Just in terms of figuring out details, you guys, if you were looking at that detail, right? That detail right there. You went, oh, wow, where is it? Well, it's 27S4. So it's 27, 27.
Okay, so
Detail, section 3 there. Okay, let's see. So that ridge, and that's going to be over in here. Let's see if we can see that. Is this, are the ceilings, that's obviously a drop ceiling, right?
Yep.
Yes. And here's a drop ceiling. Now we're getting into another volume ceiling. Oh, how cool is that? I love that. I love that. So you see the ridge above us is a gable, right? And there's the ridge for the gable and there's the rafters up there. Rafters going that way. But in here, they printed a volume ceiling and not one where there's just one run all the way up to a wall that goes all the way up. So kind of a shed roof look. They turned the ceiling into a gabled volume ceiling, which is very cool. That's the architect did that. And it's really nice. I really like it a lot. I love stuff like this. It's you know, it's the thing that, because this, you can keep the ceiling volume for a lot cheaper, right? And not do this and just run this wall all the way up, and then you'd have a big shed volume.
Yes.
But this gable volume, it gives it the room symmetry. You know, that opening is totally centered on the gable, the volume gable that's created in here. The ceiling, so cool. And it's all ceiling registers, which is not ideal, but your choices on slab on grade, since we're not doing, you know, we used to do under slab ducting, which is a nightmare of epic proportions. We stopped doing that a while back. And, you know, now with slab on grade, we like to hang the furnaces in the attic, which that one is right up there. Ducting runs through all the crawl spaces, but then either have a high wall register or a ceiling register, which is not ideal for heat, because heat rises, but it does the job. And when I talk about ideal, and for my money, ideal is floor registers at exterior walls, you know, centered on windows and inactive doors, and a return air in the center of the house, so all your supply air is drawn across the house to the return air. And really is an efficient way to heat a house. God, I got a lot of cool attic space in here. You know, for a 600 square feet, why would you need any more than this? Are you sure this is like 20 by 30? Let's take a look at the plans. I'm really curious because why would you need anything more than this? Who would, yeah, it's just unbelievably cool. Let's see. Out of page. Oh, this is the proof set too. Oh, right now. Details code sheet.
Stop.
It's probably pretty easy. It's probably. So the building itself, I come on that nose. 23.9. So 20, 30, about 42, 23.9. So
Definitely bigger than 600. That's it.
42 times 24 equals, yeah. It's closer to just 1,000 inside, beside the terraces. And I think
it's
ADUs are
1,200.
limited to 1,200. I think that's what, I think that's what I remember. So, at 1,200 square feet, which is not considered, a big place. It's huge. It feels huge, doesn't it? So,
I mean, for husband and wife,
yeah, I mean, what more do you need? And then please tell us, what were the challenges for you on this project? This particular project?
well, challenges, I don't think, the only challenge that I see here is like always the safety of the people, quality of the job, keep the customers happy.
Right. How about the job itself? Did any present any framing challenges? Anything like what you were scratching your head going, oh, how do we do this and stuff like that?
No.
It was pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straight, simple framing.
Nothing you hadn't done before.
No.
2x6 walls, 3x plates, which are called out for these walls. Did you guys check your anchor bolts and your HDs and the locations were good? You didn't have to bore and epoxy any end?
Correct. That is correct.
Were they clean? Did you have to bend any? Did your concrete guys leave them clean?
Yeah, usually it's always, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But I think that makes it.
Wait, stop this for a second. What Hilario just said, if you didn't hear him, was that nobody's perfect and that's what makes us human. That's a good quote, dude.
Yes, and like everybody, without complaining, we just come out and there's a bolts, that bolts, just straighten it off and just keep going.
Yeah. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You're right. The way it is, but you didn't have to epoxy anything. They were in the right place.
I think there's a couple of hold downs they had to epoxy it because they were in the wrong places.
Which is pretty standard. So when the concrete is laid out, things like this is it's probably an HD8 right here. When that's laid out and that stab is in the concrete, that stab being the bolt that this piece of hardware is anchored to, that's got to be in the exact place to catch that 4x6. And if it's not, it has to be you have to bore an epoxy in and have it checked by a special inspector or something like that. So the layout for the anchor bolts, especially HDs, is super important. Other than that, if you got a level slab, and you guys, looks like you framed this wall as a pretty long wall too, huh?
Yes.
Framed on a nice clean slab and then raised and kicked off. I would have loved to have seen this thing being framed. You guys framed it in 3 days? Or 3 weeks?
Yeah, all things you start to this phase of the job is we've been here for 3 weeks.
It's pretty impressive. 3 weeks of framing, big openings, big headers, No huge challenges. You guys sheeted the roof too, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And does that ridge beam stay exposed?
It's a new one, it's always gonna be hitting by the city.
So this is all drywall.
Yes.
This is not a TNG ceiling. So that'll all drywall, okay, drywall out, drywall flat. This wall is drywall, all that covers, that big connection covers up there. Wow. This is really. Now. Huh. Okay. That's cool.
I think the lap is double the width of the.
Now this
material.
layout, Eladio. 16 centers, right? Boom, boom, and you got nailing here. I don't know what all this bridge nailing is about, but then you jump over. So is there some reason you deviated from 16 centers here? Something that came up and you went, oh yeah,
Yes, lights,
lighting.
yeah, lighting. We got a center bay for lighting.
Okay,
And then like this act to subtract one of the joists.
I see. So, which is really good to know, which is really good for the general or somebody was coordinating with the framers at this point so that when they could change the framing now or do it even before that needed to be changed based on lighting, because we've had to change a few things based on lighting and mechanical room changes and plumbers ran stuff that they shouldn't have ran and all that stuff. And we're going to go film a job that LRA's company framed for us, which is a little less complex. A little bigger, but less complex, and certainly not as. Wow, look at that up there. That's an interesting framing up there. Why block on that? Why block on the bias like that? I'm just curious. That blocking, it's running up at an angle. Is there some reason for that?
Yes, we had a roof attaching to this high wall from the top side, and that'll give you an area.
Oh, okay.
See, that's a lower roof, that area over there.
Oh, and nailing for your roof from the outside.
We got a.
I see. So there's a roof that comes in right at that level on the exterior, and that's why those blocks. You can see those blocks. They're cut on the rake like that.
And one more shorter video to finish this. Very short.
Let's see. Is this access? No. Yeah. No. This is access. Big old king post, or yeah, supporting that splice. Is it a splice? No, just a mid-span support king's post on this ridge. And just so you know, engineering wise, when you have a volume ceiling like this, because if this were not a volume ceiling, if this had ceiling joists and a regular drop ceiling joist and not the volume, that ridge could have been a 1-bar. It could have been 1-bar. So we have volume ceilings and no collar ties, which keeps the outside walls from going out. Then you need a giganto ridge. That's one of the things you need. Bigger rafters and a big ridge. All right. So much to know about this stuff.
Collar ties
Sure
would go
clean.
plate to plate, like
So you
ceiling
got here
joists.
except for pickup and the little bit, are you doing the TNG and stuff?
Yes, we still got to do the TNG here, so, and we still have another pergola on that side of the house. And we got to do, but we gotta wait for the landscapers, put pipes and then concrete.
And you guys have got, I gotta get you back to put skylights in my job too, as soon as I get skylights. Okay, let's look at the closet. I'm gonna just take one last look around here and then I'm gonna hung, just like we're hanging our forced air unit is also being hung, which I should be able to show you that. Here's just the vent stubs, which are not penetrated yet because the roof is just dried in. This was done before concrete, which HVAC. Your job is clean looking, that's for sure. 835s, right? 835s everywhere. Those are pretty much called out everywhere. You know, 835 from top plate, which is, it's a double top plate. And the single top plate, what do you think about single top plates?
Well, you don't see those anymore at all.
Well, they were big because they're green, right? People, they wanted to, you know, less one lineal foot run, less one plate, and use less lumber. But personally, I can't see, how do you tie intersecting walls without a double top plate, right? You can't tie them, you can't overlap on top, tie in a wall. So you guys are doing double top plates. Joe has argued for single top plates.
Wrap them.
And I'll probably do it ad infinitum, but anyway, double top plate, virtually every job, this is required, not virtually, every job is required for an 835 clip, that's that hanger on top. I'm gonna zoom on it, so you can see it. Those clips, yeah, those clips right there, 835, they're called out for every job to tie the plate to the freeze block. And the freeze block is,
Rafter to rafter.
goes in between the rafters out flush to the outside of the plate. But all this mechanical fastening that you see, those 835s, those column caps, oh, here's another one of those beautiful orange ceilings. Okay. And this will all get isoning, right? So you can have line ceiling. But like this strap, they're all called out on the plans. And this is the kind of stuff the inspector will look for and make sure they're on there. That's them doing their job. Now, what are these guys called, Claudio? You remember? These guys here, are those some kind of 835 as well?
Yes, 835.
Also an 835, it's just a different version of it that ties the rafter to the top plate. And it looks like every other, or every three, or every so often. They were called out. And that's for exterior walls, not for interior walls. Any other jazzy hardware on here? See here, this is all 835s too.
Like every third rafter.
And then in typical ceiling framing, that's a typical head off right there, right? It's a doubled up joist,
So double joist, we still.
cut out and then head out. So because you see, it loses this
Tail
joist,
joist.
this joist right there. That used to go all the way through that opening, or would have gone all the way through that opening. And since we're going to get rid of that ceiling joist, you've got to head it off with doublers all the way around, and now it's secure. It's the way it's supposed to be framed. And this is plywood trimmers, which is fine. Wait, that just added the fur in the opening. There's your king stud. There's your trimmer. That's some furring. Header. These are cripples. Double top plate. Clean, man. You guys are clean. What if I come around with my level?
Well, haven't you? I don't feel okay.
And is this probably getting a masonry fireplace, right?
Yeah, after they install the measure, fireplace is gonna come up and pour out the trauma.
Yeah, wow, this is just something else, man. Something else. So I'm gonna say sayonara, but I want to just finish with Eladio. So anything else you want to tell my class of men and women that are interested in construction, and now they've seen an incredibly well-framed house? What do you think this is a good trade to get into? I mean, if you were doing it all over again, would you do this?
Oh, yes, that's for sure. It is a career. It's been a career for me. And if you like it, you can go all the way. I haven't seen any stop. To me, it's a career, same as engineer.
Yeah.
Architect,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, it's a good career. It's a career that you can be successful in, and by what people gauge as successful, which is you make more money, and you do more and more, and you're able to employ people, right? And you're able to get people jobs and keep the economy going. The thing is there are no ceilings set for you here. You know, you could start out pushing a broom, and then be the owner of the company with a bona fide California contractor's license and more work than you can do and more work in the horizon and bigger projects and hopefully bigger margins. And the thing of it is it's not a guarantee that you're going to get rich. You know what I mean? But if you work hard and you're fair and you got your wits about you, it's been my experience that you will do well
Oh,
financially.
definitely, yes, definitely, it is a career, even if you don't make a lot of tons of money. I mean, your life is a quality life, and you can support your family, you can enjoy your work and later, you know?
And speaking of enjoying your work, it's one thing that I've been kind of harping on is that the kind of work that you do and the kind of work that I've done and the guys that work for you do is creating things that are real in the world that last and have lasting value. So they exist way beyond when you're doing them, right? You do them, they get done, and they don't just go off into the internet or ethers, or they're not just pieces of paper laying somewhere. They're real things that people go into, and the walls keep the elements out, the windows let in the light, and all this stuff that you do is here for the ages, and that's really something.
It is.
That's
It is. If you start thinking of that, I mean, it is your house. It could be your home, your own home.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a really good thing. It's a really good career, and if you enjoy it and you get it paid, you live it. Like I said,
Yeah, well, it is, and you're a great example of it, Hilario. Thank you so much for giving me your time, giving us your time to be able to see this project and then hear it from you too. So thanks again. Good luck to you and your guys and Roberto.
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. Lights, camera, action. I'll send out an email to everybody before Saturday, just remind you. Show up before 9. Let me know if you're not gonna make it. If you can't make it, then just go to class on Tuesday night and watch the Zoom recording. Whenever I'll get it up. Try to get it up right away, but I might actually take until Tuesday. So if you can't come Saturday, then just go to Tuesday class and watch the thing. Okay, we'll call it. You just, if you could tell me you watched it, we'll call it you're here. And otherwise, come Saturday, all right? Bring gloves and a pair of lineman's pliers. Look up lineman's pliers or just heavy duty pliers. They have a really good solid cutter on them, and they have relatively square jaws. Just something to tie wire and gloves for hands. And that should be all you need. And it'll be fun. We'll do something together. I think you'll like it. I know in the past, it's always been good to have a bunch of people do something together, and you guys can come back to this thing. Like, you want to see something really cool, and I gotta give it to Pat. You walk that way, the Johns are up there, right? Right on this side is an open or portico sort of structure. It's on poles, but those poles were really they were made into poles. But Pat and his class did that whole thing. It's a trick. Check it out. Ours won't be as trick, but I'll try to make it trick enough. So hey, see you Saturday or 2 weeks from today, right? So I'll see some of you guys hopefully Saturday, and then 2 weeks from today here. Right? People I don't see Saturday, see you 2 weeks from today here, and you'll watch the video.
Thank you, Rodney.
You don't think you'll make it? No, we'll be able. Okay. So just thanks for telling me when watching. Okay. Yeah.
What time on Saturday?
And we'll go, damn, where are those guys? Where's Alex? Where's Evan?
Jealous.
Hey Rodney, what time is it on Saturday again this weekend?
9 o'clock.
Thank you.
You bet, you guys. Night, Claire. 9 o'clock and I'm gonna stop the recording.